Awesome, and welcome to tonight's show of Let's Talk About Ice, live from the Gold Coast. I'm going to give you a second to tap in, say hi, give us a yell, send us some love and some kisses. And guys, if you haven't done so already, please press share. If you're probably joining us, we're waiting for some people to get online. Tonight is a really special show, and I am super excited to be able to interview our guest tonight, because there is a journey that we're going to share with you tonight that I believe is going to touch people's lives, yeah, and it's going to help understand the walk through addiction and recovery, and be able to shed some light on that journey. So we're open to questions, guys, so please ask away. Press share. Hi Melinda, welcome to the show. Please press share, not press, long day. Press share on the show so that we can reach more people, because our heart is that we touch the lives of people that may want understanding. You might have a loved one in addiction. You might not know how to handle it. You might be in addiction yourself and be thinking, oh, I'm really sick of this life and I may want change, but what does that look like? So tonight we're about to share an incredible story. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and for being open to sharing your story and your heart. More importantly, guys, it's not easy to come, and people go, oh, but you go on media and you tell everybody, about your life and whatever. It's not easy, but the reason that we do this is so that we can help others not go through and into the same pit holes that we did, yeah? So that if we can highlight, what that looks like and the struggles and how we came out, that's why we do it. It's not because we want to sit here and just gloat on what we did or where we went. There's nothing glorified in that, right? It is definitely how, and you'd agree with me, Ben, I'm presuming, but it's about sharing our heart, sharing that journey, but also being able to be a point of reach out to people that may want support, yeah? So press share right now. So would you consider addiction, the full-blown addiction, would you consider that a hell?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a hell. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. When I guess, reached bottom, yeah, it was just a black, empty void. Just like basically wrecked and no hope for the future at all. It started, my journey with narcotics started off fun, and then just slowly spiraled out of control. But I didn't realize it would affect me spiritually, it would affect me mentally, it would affect my body. And just being alone. I mean, if you define hell as just being completely isolated, alone, lonely with no hope, it's pretty hellish.
Yeah, it can get quite dark. Hey guys, give me a thumbs up if you can hear us sound-wise okay. You might just need to project a little. You've got such a gentle nature and beautiful gentle voice. But have you guys got sound good? Just let me know if you can hear, guys. And don't forget to press share. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got some thumbs up going. So thank you for that, guys. So you say your journey started with narcotics. Can you go back and paint a bit of a picture? Because first thing I do know that you have a father who's a pastor.
Yes.
So most people go, oh, the people that take drugs, they're those people that they have families that are destroyed and they're on the street, and I don't think that was quite your picture.
No, my picture was more like I guess living a double life. So I grew up in church, as a pastor's kid, and front row, suit and tie, Sunday morning. But in my past, there was a lot of dysfunction, trauma. From my childhood, being a pastor's kid, we moved around a lot. So I wasn't in one city for more than 4 years, and in that 4 years, you know, I was in 4 different houses, 3 different school districts, and so I never had really an opportunity to put down roots. And then, maybe the best way to describe it is looking good on the outside, but just very, very broken, frustrated, and angry on the inside, and not feeling like I could have a voice. So I got very good at living a double life. Like, I would show up to the things I needed to show up to, the events, the church functions. But then as soon as church was over, you know, I would hit the street and try to get high, you know.
How early, Ben, did that start for you? Like, you know, did you just wake up one day and said, oh yeah, I'm going to try drugs because I'm just annoyed? Or what was it like? I want to know what was going on for you.
I started pretty late, I guess, actually about 16. So most people, a lot of people that I meet in recovery now started a lot younger than I did. I didn't start with any hard drugs until I was in my early 20s, but just drinking and pot, you know, early, and then as it got later, I got into the harder drugs with meth and heroin. But it's just I think I was looking for a good time, and then I liked the feeling of not having to feel everything that was going on inside of me. So like with all the dysfunction and, you know, anger and all this stuff, bitterness or, you know, hurt, and not understanding how to process those emotions or voice them assertively, it was easier just to numb them and stay numb for most of my life.
I hear that. Was there a certain part of it where maybe you moved around a lot?
Yeah.
Did you want to like fit in? Was that kind of a part of it? Like, was that what was going on in the?
I don't think. Yeah, that's not really. I've heard that story a lot, and that really wasn't my story. I wanted to be different, like, because church was the only thing I ever knew, and like you know, in youth group or whatever, you get the bad kids that would come through, and like I was always drawn to them, like, and like I guess looking for adventure. Kind of, more than wanting to fit in. I wanted to be rebellious almost, I guess. I wanted to be different than the people that I went to church with. Yeah.
And so you started drinking.
Yeah.
And then that led to
pot. Smoking pot, and then a lot of acid, mushrooms, and then I found pain pills. And there was a pill epidemic in America where there was OxyContin everywhere.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. So I found pain pills. And then I ended up in South Carolina, and it was before the Mexican, it was about 7 years ago now, 9 years ago now, before the Mexicans started bringing a lot of crystal meth across the border, so there was no real super labs. So the only meth that you could get in South Carolina was made in double wide trailers or wherever, you know, people would buy the cough medicine and make it up, and it was like powdered form, it wasn't crystal. And so then I got into that and started experimenting with that. But I actually got onto that. I started taking ADHD medication at first, and then recognized that this was cheaper, easier to get, the meth was. So jumped onto that, and then started cooking myself to keep myself in supplies. So, you know, started, you know, going to doctors to get the cold medicine.
And Ben, how old were you at that time? Like?
This was way later in life. So I'm 46 now. So this is when I was in my 30s.
Okay. Yeah. So from 16 to when you started kind of, you know, drinking and stuff, to what age did you kind of? How long did it take before you went on to the heavier stuff?
In my 20s. So I started playing around with the heavier stuff in my 20s, early 20s.
Question for you, because I know that the people are asking this at home, and I get this question all the time, and there's a whole debate, so you can join in on the debate, guys. Do you think that alcohol and marijuana and, you know, I guess party pills and stuff like that, do you think that that's a doorway to heavier drugs?
I mean, Yeah, I guess yes and no. It all depends. I think it all depends what you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you have access to harder things, I think people jump into the harder things quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have them, if people want to numb themselves or feel something outside of what they're feeling, they will find a way to do it.
Yeah.
So if it's pills, ADHD medicine, pain pills,
Mm-hmm.
marijuana, those are all easier to get. I swear doctors are some of the biggest drug dealers in town.
Yeah.
And
I totally understand.
So it's easier to get to that until you have the connections that you need to get to harder drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
People have different journeys, different experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I often find I see people, start off alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
Marijuana, pills,
Yeah.
and they work their way up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know for me it was very different. I went straight into ice world,
Yeah.
which was very unusual. But
Yeah.
mainly, I see a lot of people, walk into that way because after a while, some of the other drugs aren't doing what you need it to do.
Yeah.
Marijuana is no longer masking and the downers, and you're like,
Yeah.
you wanted something more.
More, yeah.
And I often find that that's the pathway. If you have an opinion at home, we're listening. So please, put your comments on. If we don't answer straight away, we will be on here online later, and we will get back to some of those questions. But so tell me about your family, right? They've had to have noticed that something was going on,
Yeah.
that you weren't yourself, you weren't,
Yeah.
maybe attending or skipping school, or
Yeah.
how'd that look?
I think for the most part, I disconnected from my family pretty young. So 16, 17, I was pretty much removed from my family.
Mm-hmm.
I think that at different points over the years, I would spiral out of control, worse, and I would have, my weight would drop, or I would look tired all the time, or I would get myself into some kind of legal trouble, and then they would think, oh, he's out of control. So I attempted rehab once before in my 20s that they helped facilitate me to go into, but I didn't grasp. I wasn't at a bottom per se, and I stayed after I got out. I stayed straight for a little while, but
So sorry, I need to understand. So and probably you do at home too. Removed from your family. What does that?
just
look
kept them
like?
kept them at arm's length.
Okay, so you weren't actually taken away from them.
Just moved out of the house.
Oh, you moved out?
Yeah, and just like trying to keep my distance, kind of from them. But it was like I come from a pretty close family, so like over the years, you have distance, and then you get closer, and then there's some kind of blow up, and then you get more distance.
Yeah.
So I think that my immediate family is pretty much always aware that I struggled with drug use, and that I just don't think that they, maybe even to now, they don't fully understand recovery, like as and everything it takes to keep me clean.
Absolutely.
The work it takes right now.
Yeah.
So they tried to help in their own way. Cut him off financially, bring him in, give him more, set him up doing this business or that business.
Yep.
He needs this or he needs that. So over the years, they tried to help.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was just enabling me to not reach a bottom until I actually did kind of reach a bottom.
I want to stop you there, and are you hearing this at home? Because we work with a lot of families, and people go, oh, but I think he's at rock bottom. I can't let my child hurt. I can't see them suffering like that. I've got to. He's going to live on the street, or she's going to turn to prostitution. How we can't save them? Yeah, we can't. Like as people who have been through the depths of addiction, nobody can save us, right? You can reach out and provide tools for them to grab onto and help themselves, but you actually can't stop them from the consequence of their actions, right? If I choose to use drugs, I have to reap the consequence of that. You know, there's a ripple effect in it, choosing life or death. You know, we make that choice, and we have to have that freedom to make that choice. To reconnect. Okay, it seems like we just went offline for a minute. If the pain of that that choice is going to hurt, that was our choice. So many times I hear families, and we work with a lot of people, families say, you know, I can't let them. I need to help them get into rehab. I need to do this, but really, you can only give them the tools and say, I love you enough to, and it's hurting me to see you destroy yourself.
There we go.
I don't know why we're having internet issues. Sorry, guys. We're back. So yeah, that's kind of what went down for you, right? So you're talking about, what does rock bottom look like then?
Rock bottom for me, so I kept moving through drugs until I found one I really, really liked, which was heroin. And so I started shooting up heroin in my late 30s, mid to late 30s.
So you moved from popping pills.
Yeah.
We're currently online. I don't know who that is. So you moved from popping pills or doing other drugs?
You know, I think in addiction you make these boundaries for yourself, like in your head, like I will do this, but I will never do that.
Hey, yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And then
I remember that.
and then, you know, and then like, okay, well, I'll do this, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
And then finally, it got to the point where I was waking up. To wake up in the morning, I would have to take a shot of heroin and a shot of meth, mixed together to wake up, and just to get me going and make me not sick and give me some energy. And then I would, you know, shoot heroin later in the afternoon, and I would try to quit using meth like earlier in the day, 1 o'clock, so I could possibly go to sleep at night.
Wow, that's crazy, because like they're both total opposite. That's what we refer to as polyusing, guys. In case you've ever heard that term, that's when somebody uses different all different substances. It's not just one drug, right? So that's a polyusing. But that's a downer and an upper at the same time. Yeah. What was that doing for your system, like?
At the time when I was doing it, it felt really, really good. It's been, you know, I think they call it a speedball. Yeah. But you know, and I would wake up sick from heroin withdrawals. Yeah. And so it would get me straight, and then the crystal would just give me energy, confidence, kind of thing. Yeah. And looking back at it now, it's crazy. Yeah. So,
and I think that they do that. They're lacing. They're lacing ice with heroin. We had the different colours and
fentanyl.
stuff. Yeah, fentanyl and heroin. Because we had the yellow ones, the pink one, and they were laced with different things, you know. And the heroin ones were the yellow one. Yeah. So that always was better, because you kind of got a double whammy, the downer, but the upper at the same time. It was crazy. Yeah. But it's messing up in your system. You know, that couple of minutes of pleasure had a whole load of consequences that came with that.
Yes, very much so.
What does down? You said rock bottom.
So
down bottom.
Rock bottom was for me. My journey towards recovery started in Indianapolis, Indiana. I bought some heroin, and I didn't realize that it was fentanyl, because you don't know what you're getting. And so I was in a fight with my partner at the time, and so I went into a back bedroom to shoot up, and I took what I thought was heroin. I took a huge shot of fentanyl, and luckily I was standing up when I did the injection, because I passed out immediately. And when I fell, I knocked a mirror off the wall, and I knocked a bench over and made a big racket. So there was a neighbor outside cutting his lawn, I believe, and he seen me fall through the window, and he come running around and notified my partner that something had happened. Mm-hmm. And I overdosed I'd overdosed many times in the past, but I overdosed to the point where I had to have 3 shots of Narcan. So they gave me Narcan on the scene, they gave me Narcan and brought me back.
Wow.
And then they gave me Narcan again in the ambulance.
So just so people know at home, what's Narcan?
It's a drug that reverses the effects of opiates.
Yep.
It's a life-saving drug.
Yep.
You know, and it's like in America, the heroin epidemic is much worse than here in Australia. I think the ice epidemic is worse here in Australia than it is in America.
Yeah.
But in America, I think there's about 100,000 people die a year right now from fentanyl overdoses.
Yeah.
And Narcan saves, that number would be huge, way bigger if it wasn't for Narcan, so it does save your life.
Wow.
They had to give me another shot of Narcan in the hospital, and then they brought me back. Again, when I came to in the hospital, I checked myself out of the hospital straight away, against the doctor's, desire for me to stay there. I needed to stay, and my partner wouldn't speak to me, my mother-in-law wouldn't speak to me. I had 2 children living with me at the time. So when the ambulances came, the police came right behind the ambulances. They brought, so the police came into the house and they seen, drugs and syringes and all the rest of the paraphernalia all over the place. So the next day I ended up in court and with my partner.
Yep.
And
so you went straight from hospital into court?
Into court,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I lost custody of my daughter and I lost custody of my son.
How old were your children at the time?
They were, I believe, 7 and 6, so very young. So, and then...
and they watched you, Ben? I'm sorry to get... I'm going to get deep a little bit because I want people to understand.
No, you're fine.
They watched you go through this, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely.
How were your children coping, seeing their dad had overdosed?
I think they were so young, they didn't fully comprehend. Now my daughter is 12, and she understands that I was a heroin addict, and she understands that I'm in recovery now. And I think the effects on her, I still don't know to the full extent of the damage that has been done. I feel like she's very angry with me, unable to voice how angry she really is.
Yeah.
So after that overdose, I lost contact with her for 5 years.
Wow.
And I didn't, and my son for 5 years, and I didn't think that I would ever be able to see them again. They were adopted by their grandmother. Yeah. And
so your mum or?
No, my partner's mom.
Yep.
Yeah, she adopted them. Thank God, because if she didn't step in, they would have ended up in the system, and then the chances of me seeing them again would have been very, very slim. Yeah. Because I went into rehab and into recovery over the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity to work on myself and reestablish those relationships. Beautiful. After 5 years. Yeah. But I think it's even after that overdose, it took 3 years for me to end up in recovery. So I spent a very long time in rock bottom.
So you went from hospital into prison?
No, I went to court.
Court. Did they do a court diversion or anything?
No, I skipped town.
Okay.
So that's how I lost contact with my children.
Okay,
In that lifestyle at the time, there was all kinds of nonsense going on with drug dealers and other individuals in that trade. Yeah. And I kind of was afraid of the consequences from the law and from them. Yeah. And in addiction, you do some crazy things. So
because you're not thinking straight, then are you?
Not thinking straight at all. So you put yourself in a lot of danger. Yeah. And all you're thinking about is getting the next high. Yeah. You're not thinking any kind of consequential thinking down the line. Yeah. So once I realized I was in trouble with the law, in trouble with family services, in trouble with these dealers, yeah, I shot through.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like I had much of a choice. And
Yeah.
the big thing for me was I used to tell myself a lie in those 3 years, and that lie was that my children were better off with me not being in their life. Like I was like rescuing, or like I was doing them a favor by disappearing and not having any contact with them. And it took a lot of work in recovery for me to understand that that was absolutely not true, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, rock bottom was pretty much, homelessness and just, you know, trying to get on the run, basically. Yeah.
So that rock bottom lasted 3 years for you.
It took about 3 years. So yeah, there's a, you know, I ended up, because I come from a Christian family and ministry family. My dad had reached out and tried to help me, and so he did set up like an intervention, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the rehab that I went to here in town, which is Transformations, the founder of that rehab was in America, and him and my dad had been friends, and so they did a little intervention kind of thing in Tampa, Florida.
Yep.
And there was no way I was going to go to rehab. Like I was at that point, I had been sober through sheer willpower because I was just hanging out with my dad for about 2 months, and I was convinced that I could do it without going to rehab. And you know, here's these two people telling me that I couldn't, it wouldn't work, and I didn't believe them. So I managed to get about 11 months together just by going to AA and NA and completely change the lifestyle, remove myself from those old neighborhoods, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I met a girl and a woman and ended up using again, and then used for another 2 years, and I finally got the courage to walk into a rehab. It took a lot. I'm pretty prideful, so you know, pretty stubborn when it comes to some things.
I think we all are, and it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you were like not using for 2 months, and then you got 11 months up.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst for you to stop using?
I think I was like, losing the children scared me, like, and the overdose was the worst. Like I said, I had overdosed many times, had Narcan many times, but that one was like, I understood, like when I woke up from that, like if I hadn't have been standing up and somebody hadn't seen me fall, that I would be dead. I would have been dead. And like I think I was fear motivated, and like I wasn't ready to die yet, and understood finally that I had to make some kind of change. I was just convinced that I could do it on my own.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know, I hear that a lot. There's a lot of people that we work with, they go, I don't want to go to rehab. I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to get locked up. You know, I thought that, you know, when I started to get clean, I ran a few rehabs. I'm like, I'm not going to get locked up. They're going to take my privileges. They're going to take my phone. Like, they're just like, I'm not going to prison. But I didn't understand what I understand now, because we help a lot of people, you know, particularly go to transformation and different rehabs, but so that they can have the tools to be able to help themselves. And it's like, it's there, it's you know, supported, it's people walk with you that have been through it, and they, you know, you get to forget the world for a minute and just work on your recovery and your inside, and be able to focus on that. And it's a few months out of your whole life, like really, you know, like it really matters that, you know, you spend, you know, a year, 12 months or 8 months or 3 months or whatever it is for you, in a program where you're helping yourself work yourself out, work out your own salvation, you know. And I didn't understand that. I just saw like, no, they just want to, you know, like I was half in psychosis, and I wasn't going to go there. I can do it on my own. I'm strong enough, you know. Like that wasn't going to happen to me. So you were clean, 11 months, relapsed for how long?
I relapsed the first time, and I thought it was going to be a one-off situation, and because I had 11 months together, and so if I use once, I can always just do it again, just once. Right? So then I had flown to Australia from New York, and with the intention of finally saying, okay, maybe I need to go to rehab, and then. Because I grew up here in Australia and didn't move to New York till I was 12, I had family here that I'd never met. So I went when I got off the plane, I said, well, I'll go travel a little bit and meet them. Yeah. So I ended up kicking around Brisbane for about a year and a half.
Were you clean?
No, absolutely not. I met a connect from Sydney, and he was moving morphine that was bootlegged from India.
Funny how it ends up in front of us.
Yeah,
really like.
Yeah. And so then I was using that, and it got completely out of control. I didn't realize because I wasn't shooting up. I was just taking pills again. I felt like I was doing fine.
Yeah.
If as long as I didn't touch a needle, it was going to be great. And then when COVID hit 2 years ago, the borders closed, and so the connect that I had to get the pills in Sydney couldn't get them across the border anymore, and so like COVID hit, the border closed, and about 2 weeks later everything had dried up and there was nothing available, and I was absolutely dope sick like you wouldn't believe, and I was in.
What did that look like, Ben? Because people may not understand what you're referring to. Yeah.
Being sick?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if you could, the worst mental, physical pain you could ever imagine. Like, I was like, feel like crawling out of your skin, itching, you just have to use the bathroom all the time, throwing up, can't keep any food down. It's like absolute the worst physical pain, and then psychologically you know that you can make all of this hell stop if you can just get another shot or another pill, and everything will be fine. And so you're like, yeah, it's just wild. It's wild. It's somewhere I never ever want to be ever again. It was absolutely terrible. Once when I went into withdrawals that time, over the years, like I'm 46 years old, so this was 2 years ago. Through the years, I had to quit drugs cold turkey many times. And when I was younger, it was horrible and it sucked, but you did it, you know. And like the older you get, the harder it is. And this last time that I went through detox, you know, it was really, really bad. I called my brother, who was friends with some of the people that worked at the rehab, and I told him, okay, I've done it again. I'm clearly hooked. I'm in withdrawals. I'm either going to go to rehab tomorrow, or I'm going to go find some way to get well. You know, get high. So if you can, you know, I need to know what the plan is tonight, because it's one or the other. So he had made some calls, and he was like, yeah, get to the rehab tomorrow, and they'll take you in. Which, you know, still like that morning I was like, I cannot believe you're going to do this kind of thing. So yeah, I walked into rehab like a zombie. So the director at the time is still the director I work for now with the rehab, and he laughs all the time about the day that I walked in 2 years ago. I looked like a skeleton. It's just like completely dead.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. So.
There's got to be a moment that you go, I ain't doing this anymore. Was there a moment, or was it just a gradual thing for you that eventually you were like...
I think I was in full-blown psychosis, honestly.
Wow.
Because I was like seeing things, and the rehab I went to was called Transformations, but I was laying on my bed dope sick, and a song came on, and one of the lyrics in the song said the name of the rehab, and I was like, oh my God, that's the answer. Yeah. I was like, okay, I find it's like you actually, I forgot why I actually came to Australia. Like you were supposed to go to rehab 2 years ago, and
Wow.
you've been kicking around Brisbane for the last 2 years. So, you know, you need to go ahead and do it. I think the good thing about my journey was the day that I walked in the doors of the rehab, I was absolutely convinced that, one, I was a drug addict. Like, I tried to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to have my family help me. I tried to all these different ways,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. And I was convinced that, yeah, I was a drug addict and I couldn't do it by myself. I needed help.
That's
So I
good.
needed somebody to teach me how to live
Yep.
a sober life. And yeah, so I think it helped. I think I've watched a lot of people go through rehab over the last 2 years. I don't want to say hundreds, but at least 80.
Yep.
And some people struggle in rehab, and some people find it easier. And I'm convinced that the people that find rehab easier are people that have actually been allowed to reach a bottom
Mm-hmm.
and have come to the conclusion that they're absolutely powerless over narcotics, and that they need somebody to show them how to live a different kind of life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's the thing, guys, you know, we work with a lot of people, showing them that that is the better way. That, you know, that the people that are in these rehabs we work with, like Transformation, they have been through it. They know the journey. They know the pit holes that you're going to fall into. You know, they can help assist you with that walk, yeah, if you want your life back. It's much easier to have somebody next to you going, hey, I've been down that road, I've tried that, man, don't go this way. It's easier, because when I went down that way, I slipped, man. I went backwards and it didn't work. This is a better way. And so to have that support network around you, honestly, and to look at your recovery in a holistic approach, you know, abstaining from using, like you said, just not using drugs is not recovery.
No.
You know, and this is the
not.
difference.
Yeah.
You have to get a spirit, soul, and body recovery. You can stop using, that's your body, that's great, and you know, you can just clean it up and stop using, detox, you know, put healthy stuff in there. But your soul is your mind and your emotions, and if you don't work out all of the trauma, all of the underlying stuff, all of the hurts, all of the stuff that we carry, that we want to mask, or you know, that's happened through addiction, that we need to bring it out. We do that with counsellors, drug and alcohol counsellors, with psychiatrists, people that are trained to do that with you, but you have to bring it out, and then you can work through that stuff, heal those areas, and then there's the spiritual side. Yeah, we're 3-part being, guys, and we do need, you know, to just give it up, you know, give it up, realise that there's something greater than us, and who's created us for something. And what is that? And just tap into that, yeah? So, you know, having places like Transformation that are doing incredible work, at which now you are a part of, which is such an amazing,
I love it.
an amazing story, and a blessing to so many coming into rehab, because, you know, you've just shared your heart here today and your journey, and, you know, if they come in and they're contemplating, if you might be contemplating change, I don't know if somebody sent you this video and you might be thinking about, I want to change my life, but I don't want to go to rehab, I don't want to do that. You know, you just heard Ben here share, that was his thoughts too, you know, and he tried it every other way. You know, missed those pit holes that he's already gone through, and it took him years to step out of. You know, you can reach out today, and we can connect you. Yeah, we can connect you with the right rehabs for you, and some peer support. You know, people that can walk with you. You know, you're not alone in this, but you know, you're worth more than self-destruction. You're made for something amazing, and you know, we've been through it. We know what that feels like. I know it's scary, but just reach out, guys. Yeah, the number to call is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE, or you can call us on 0481 844 555. You can do a private message right now, directly to us. You know, we're here to help you create that pathway into some options, yeah. But we definitely don't want you to do this alone, yeah. And I mean, I've got 10 years up. You got a few years up your sleeve now, and you've been working in the rehab. Tell me about what that's like for you now.
I love it. Like this is, I just what you just said about like recovery, not just being abstaining from drugs, that like resonated with me so much because it's I had no idea that recovery was what it was, and that like is loving healthy meaningful relationships, and like this is the first time in my entire life where I wake up in the morning and I'm excited about what I get to do for the day. So I work right now. I finished the rehab that I was in, and then volunteered to stick around for a little while and help out. And now I get to guide other people through the same process that I went through, and like it's very fulfilling, and there's a lot of happy moments and a lot of laughs, but it's very sad at times. In recovery, the numbers of people who actually make it are still really small. I think the more research that is being done, and the more people understand psychology and spiritual awareness, that the numbers are getting better, success rate. But it's still pretty hard to watch people come in, see them have a clear path to a beautiful life, and choose to go back to what they were rescued or they left behind. It breaks my heart, when it happens. But there are successes. So I feel fulfilled doing it. I like giving back. I like helping people. I never knew life could be so beautiful. It's like the craziest things. Like my life now is just so amazing. I moved into an apartment. I have roommates. I live by the beach. I swim almost every day.
Wow.
I have hobbies. If I'm supposed to be somewhere and I don't show up, I'm not alone. If I'm supposed to go to an NA meeting and I don't rock up there, 3 or 4 people are going to call my phone and find out where I am. If people think I was coming to church and I don't show up, I got 5 people calling me. Are you okay?
That's awesome.
It's very nice to have a group of people around me to support me. I didn't understand that that's what recovery really was until even when I was in rehab, until I got to the very end of my journey in rehab, and I finally understood that life was about healthy, loving, meaningful relationships, and I was put in positions where I could start to make those connections. I did an internship through my church for a year as part of my rehab program.
Yep.
So I get to serve in my local church, and all the good things in my life now have come out of connecting with people, and I value that about pretty much all else. I love that I'm in contact with my children. I still have one daughter in New York that I have not seen in probably 12 years, and I'm believing God that relationship will be restored someday.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a progression. I think the best way to describe it is when I first realized that I needed to change. I couldn't see a brighter future. It just didn't exist to me. The world was a miserable, nasty place. You were either pray or you were preying on somebody.
Yeah.
And there was nobody that cared. And then you get into recovery and you realize that there's people out there that will love you for being you, and they don't want anything from you at all.
Yeah.
And they just want to do life with you and enjoy the journey with you. And it's very fulfilling.
It's so beautiful.
I love it.
Question for you.
Yep.
Was rehab hard?
It was impossibly difficult. I can't believe it. I would never have made it if I didn't have mentors to guide me through. So I got a few people in my life that I met in recovery and at my church. That's one thing, like, I've got 2 years together 3 days ago, so I got 2 years and 3 days. And it's awesome. It's the longest I've ever been clean in my entire life. If I had to add up the amount of people in my life that it takes to keep me on the straight and narrow, I like to say, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's my pastor, my psychologist, my mentor.
Yep.
You know, my people in the rooms that I know that I call and I talk to, my connect groups at church, my other friends in recovery, you know, and it's like, it's a lot of work, but it's really good
It's
work.
worth it,
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It got so bad in rehab, like, when I wanted to leave, so many times, and I would stare at the front door, and I would always find a reason to stay. But like, when I first walked in, I said, okay, this isn't for me. Let me see, I'll stay for 30 days, right? So 30 days come and went. And I said, okay, I made it 30 days, not that bad, I'll stay another 30. At a certain stage of the recovery process, there's so many things that are coming up, past traumas and hurts and all these feelings that you've got to process through. I would look and I will stay for a month, drop to, okay, I will stay for 10 more minutes. And,
Wow.
and you know what I'm saying? And like, if I can make it another 10 minutes, I'll be good.
Wow.
But I've learned that what I'm feeling is only temporary. And if I can sit with that feeling long enough, it'll dissipate. And
That's a golden nugget here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, we might be talking, a lot of people tap into the show and they're in early recovery. So that was just huge what Ben just shared, guys. If you sit with the feelings, so every 10 minutes you would look and think you wanted to run, but you would sit with it and not, and it would pass.
It would pass, it would pass.
And in the like through the depths of the program, you were feeling like this. But you sat.
I think that's part of recovery is like learning to process your emotions and your feelings, right? But learning to sit with uncomfortable feelings without having any access to numb them other than connection with other people.
Yeah.
So like in rehab, I would have these feelings come up. In the past, I would be able to stick a needle in my arm and numb myself immediately and travel to a different planet.
Yeah.
In rehab, I have to sit with those uncomfortable feelings. And like, at first, I would feel the feelings and I would come out crazy, yelling, screaming, sideways, stomping behaviors. And over the course of the last 2 years in recovery, I've gotten progressively better and better at sitting with uncomfortable feelings. So, and I think that's really a big key to my recovery right now, is recognizing that whatever I'm feeling, the good feelings and the bad feelings are only temporary, and if I can sit with them long enough, they will dissipate.
Yeah.
So,
Another good thing that I hang on to through my recovery is, and my mentor taught me this, and he said, you know, your feelings can't drive the car. You've got to put your feelings in the back seat with the seatbelt, 2 seatbelts on, and tell it to shush, and then wait for it to shush, because you can't be driven by feeling. You know, being driven by not feeling like doing it, or feeling like running away, or feeling like using, or you know, that is what got us into trouble in the first place, right? So feelings are something that pop its head up just to give you a warning. Hey, you know, this is not feeling good. And then put it in the back seat, gag it, put the seatbelt on, tell it to shush, and wait to until the feeling shushes, and then you can work it out. And a lot of times, this is why we work with people when they come out of rehab as well, because a lot of time people go into rehab, you're in this safe network where you've made some awesome friends, you've worked through some of this stuff, but then you come out and you hit life. Right? So what does that look like? You know, you've got to reinvent your network. You've got to find work. You've got to land somewhere for home. What does that look like? Reinventing yourself. Our clinical director has been in this industry and works with transformation as well for over 35 years. And he's put together a tripod system of support that we help people with. So if you're not going to stay in the industry like you have, which is wonderful because you've got so much to offer back into the rehab and within your church too, when people come and they need that support and that love, if they're not going to go from rehab into a network like that, what does that look like? You're back in the world, in a place where you've got to make new friends, new connections. You're going to have to find a new home. You're going to have to find that network. So that tripod system of support, guys, is so critically important. What that looks like is that you have a buddy, somebody that you can chat with and pick up the phone to and go, hey, I'm really struggling today, life's really hard and I feel like using, and your buddy's going to go, get to a meeting, let's go have a coffee, or is going to be there to go be one of the bumpers, okay? Because you need people. We need each other. The other thing we put in place for you and help you establish is a counsellor, a psychiatrist or a counsellor, somebody that can, because the walk continues. It doesn't stop after rehab, right? It's a forever thing. Like you said, we've always got the people around us that will keep us accountable. And if you're not there, somebody's going to ring you. It's about meaningful relationships and putting that around you. So having your counsellor there is so important because you can outwork still some of the issues along life, because you will have issues. In this world you'll have trials, tribulations, but it's about walking through them and learning the tools to work them out, to break them down, to see what really is going on. And so sometimes I know I stopped doing my counsellor for many years, and our clinical director said, well, are you still seeing your counsellor? Well, I don't need it anymore. I've been like 8 years clean and I'm good. And he says, no, you need to go and get that back in place, because he said, even I have one. And I went, oh, you've been like 35 years out of that world, out of that scene. Why would you need one? Well, it's a continual walk, So that tripod system looks like a buddy, a support person, a clinical counsellor or a psychiatrist, and group therapy. So whether that's NA, AA, ARC now have a RAIN group. It's called Restore, Rain and Recover. We run that on Thursday nights at 6:15 in Southport if you're on the Gold Coast. It's the first group that we've started running.
That's awesome.
And it's really amazing. There's different types of groups, there's CMA, there's NA, AA, connect with church. It's so good to have people do life with in a community. It's not about a religious. I always used to think church. I'm never what, but I supernaturally got pinned down. It's a whole nother story. But when I walked into a church, I was still fried. But people helped love me back to life when I didn't know where I was going to land and how I was going to get food and how I was going to survive. I had somebody, I had people come beside me and help me, sometimes with food or finances or just being there, just putting their arm around me and saying, I feel you hurt, I'm with you. And, oh, thank you, Lord. And that is, sometimes all we need to have somebody sit with us and love on us and, people in church can do that, can be there for you because they have the love of God in them. So it's really important that you put that framework around you, after rehab even, because, I've seen so many people relapse and go backwards because they haven't had that in place. And then you have a bumpy ride for a minute, because bumpy rides happen. And how do we work through them? Unless we have that framework of support around us, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
is.
hard because the brain has a memory, right? You've created a memory over years, and when something happens, you default to this is what you do. And when it's a really heavy bump, your brain goes, hey, go back, this is what you do, this is how you cope with it, and it's yelling at you, and how do you shush that? You have that framework of support around you, where you ring a friend, they remind you who you are and what you really want, and that is not that life. You work it out with a counsellor, say this is happening, how can I look at this differently, how can I work around this issue, and you surround yourself with awesome people that will help through that. Maybe somebody that might have gone through what you're going through, or has a key to help you with your next part of whatever you're struggling with, and it's so important, guys, that you do that. If I know you mentioned how strong that is for you. I know if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah, absolutely. I had good mentors that in the later stages of when I was in rehab, they put me in positions where, because I'm an introvert, and I'm really shy, and so it's difficult for me very challenging for me to connect with other people. And so I had one mentor who asked me to volunteer serving coffee at church. And so for a year, I worked at the coffee cart at church, and now I love it. But just to get me in the habit of being able to talk to new people all the time, and after a few months of doing it, I know every single person in my church, and it's awesome. One of the best things I ever did in my recovery was serving coffee. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, just little things connecting, and then internship. Was another situation. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to meet any new people. I didn't have time for it, and they challenged me to do it, and so I reluctantly did it. And the main core of my circle of friends now are from serving coffee at church or the internship program, and I love it because they know that I went through rehab, but they see me just as a normal person. And I have friends in the rooms at NA that I talk to about addiction and my struggle and what comes up for me, and these other friends, they're just I'm just a regular person to them. And
that's beautiful.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's so beautiful. So here's the network of support working beautifully in Ben's life, and this could be working for you. I want you to think about tonight, I want you to think about your life. I don't know if you're helping somebody in recovery, or if you are watching and you are somebody in recovery like us. I want you to have a think about what we've spoken about tonight, because if you haven't got that holistic approach to recovery and you haven't got the framework of support around you, please reach out. We're here to help you do that. It doesn't matter where you're watching from. You might be watching from New Zealand, you might be watching from Canada, I don't know. It might be in Australia, anywhere. We have teams of people across Australia, even in Mongolia, believe it or not. Yeah, we've got an intern in Mongolia, and she's like, I'm coming to Australia soon, to the capital city. I want to come in and meet. They want to get the program running in Mongolia. Awesome. And so I'm like, wow, okay, how far is this stretching? But really, it's just about love, and it's about being there for one another while my brain's not working and while I'm weak. I have somebody next to me that'll go, hey, come on, get up. You can do this, man. You're worth more than living in the gutter. You're worth more than a needle in your arm. Remember, you wanted your kids. Remember, you wanted a life, and you wanted fun, and you wanted joy and family. And so, that's what it's about, guys. So whether that's to help you get into rehab and get the tools that you need, or whether, you might be supporting a family member that's trapped in that cycle, you need some help. We have amazing family support people that have walked through it. They've got incredible tools. We want to be there for you, yeah? So the number to call is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE, or 0481 844 555, and my memory's getting better. And so Ben, before we leave, because we are going to wrap, are there any last minute messages that you want to share with the audience at home?
No, just that life in recovery is beautiful, and that you should give it a try, and especially if you have a loved one, you know, a son or daughter that's struggling with addiction, it's difficult and challenging to, you know, watch somebody go through that. But sometimes you've got to make some hard choices to allow somebody to reach a bottom, and when they do engage in recovery, to come back in and love them and support them in their recovery. And yeah, God does miraculous things, and it's a beautiful life.
So good. We're so blessed to have you here tonight and share your story. Thank you so much for joining us. I know, like, it's not easy, guys, to walk through the journey and to share this whole life. So I'm really, really grateful, because together we can help more people.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. Please, if you have any questions for Ben, type them in. I'll see if he's got social media. I'm not sure, but tap you into the to the show so that you can answer any questions. And I hope to hear from you again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in the near future. And keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Helping people. Guys, good night from us. We'll see you in a fortnight. Coffs Harbour will be on hopefully next week. I'm not sure. They're in Lismore at the moment. They're helping flood victims. They're doing a lot of work out in central New South Wales as well. They're doing some workshops out there as well, anti-ice workshops. So they may join you next week, or you may have me again. So I'm sorry. But either way, we will see you next week, 6 p.m. Guys, please click share. Share. We want to share this message, of love, and support. All right. Good night. Stay safe. God bless. Stay clean. Oh, can I show you our not even once? You can do it at home as well. You ready?
What's that?
It goes like this. N. That's N. Not. Even. Once. Not even once. Don't touch it. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.